To live for one's principles at all costs is a dangerous speculation, and the failure of an ideal, no matter how humane and noble, is harder for the world to forgive and forget than bank robbery or the grand swindles of corrupt politicians. Louisa Alcott. Thank you for listening to my discussion board number 6, Living by Principles. My name is Luke Haggerton, and to begin this presentation, I need to take you back to 2016 when I was attending a speech class as a dual credit student at a college in Victoria, Texas. So I came into this class super duper nervous. I've never been very confident as a public speaker. I would get up on stage, I would stumble over my words, and I would shake super duper bad. Just all the typical symptoms that most people at least suffer while they're on stage. To make matters worse, my professor, we kind of butted heads quite a bit. He challenged my religious beliefs and my political beliefs, and I remember one time specifically, he walks into the classroom, I believe it was like the first or second day of class, and he says, "I'm going to talk to you about the number one rule of making a speech." He said, when you're making a speech, you need to create a topic that your audience will like and it will be well received. He said, you're going to come up on stage in front of 20 different students, but you have to keep in mind that there's only one person in the audience. That's me. I'm the audience that matters because ultimately I hold your grade. And of course, with him challenging my beliefs, I decided, stubborn me, I decided to kind of challenge what he believed. And unfortunately, me not being able to communicate my topics very well sometimes hindered my progress. But on the third speech that we had to create, we had to talk about a topic that was being highly debated in the U.S. at the time. And at that time, legalization of marijuana was one of the biggest topics. So I decided to write a speech on keeping marijuana illegal. Now, this did not go as well as I had hoped. I got up on stage. I had studied the topic for about 2 weeks, and I felt really prepared, but of course when you get up on stage, sometimes words will leave your mind and you don't hit the points as strongly as you want. So I get up on stage and I finish, and all he says to me is thank you. About 2 weeks later, I receive a piece of paper, and at the top it's a 45. I received a 45 on that speech. And I went through his notes that he had taken during my speech, and at the very top, he talked about the topic. And he said, topic of the speech doesn't target your audience. And so right there, I had suffered the repercussions of following my principles. And that leads me to my next slide, which is me versus the Fruitlands Farm. Now, the Fruitlands Farm was created by Alcott's father, who wanted to create this utopia that allowed people to live without currency and ultimately get on a new level with God. He didn't believe in the necessities that many of that time had accumulated, so they got rid of hot water, so they took cold baths. They didn't believe in eating animals. Instead, they just used animals for manual labor. And at the end of this experiment, Alcott's wife, or Alcott's mother, I should say, she was threatening divorce. She wanted a divorce and she wanted to take the kids because, in a way, it was abuse to put them through that stuff. So after that, Alcott's father basically ended the experiment and was devastated because of it. I mean, he left his family destitute because of the investment that he had tried to make in this experiment. And in the same way, as he adhered to his principles and failed, I also did the same. I decided that writing about a topic or talking about a topic like this would be a little bit. I wasn't fully aware of the repercussions that I would have had. I did gain the respect of others in my classroom. I had several people come up to me and basically talk about how they wanted to create or talk about the same topic, but didn't get the chance to, or didn't really want to, didn't have the courage but ultimately they didn't receive the repercussions that I did. So what I learned from this class is that I have to recognize if what I'm fighting for is worth it. The words that Alcott writes in the opening quote is, "To live for one's principles at all costs is a dangerous speculation." Anytime that you stand up for what you believe in, you're going to receive some backlash, but you have to pick and choose your battles. And that is basically what I learned during that speech class. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing the rest of y'all's.